Hi, Tucker. I'm Todd. Hi, Todd. I'm Tucker.
Good boy.
I'm glad to see everyone is present.
Yeah, they both came in together.
All right. Hello, good evening, and welcome.
I can't think when I have both headphones on. Okay.
I'm losing you.
Then I was.
Wow, that was very strange.
What's happening?
Did you hear any of that? What happened is you went very quiet, and then everything you did say all came out at once in like a super ultra fast forward horror show.
Okay, I wonder if something is going on with my internet signal.
I'm tempted to blame Discord.
Maybe it could be blamed. Actually, yes, it's Craig's fault. Craig.
Exactly. Craig is an incompetent fool, an idiot, and well, he's got bad programming.
I thought we'd already decided to blame Discord.
We never should have gone to Craig's List to get him.
We might actually have to go there more. That's one of our more listened to episodes, and I think the reason is because Craig Kakowski, I think. Maybe it's somebody else. There's a podcast called Craig's List.
Interesting. You think we squeezed out a little bit on that name recognition?
I think a little bit. I think some people find it when searching for it. They're
Well,
like improv comedians, and they do a I've never seen it before list of movies podcast, and it's Craig's List.
well, that's one thing we can definitely never do then.
Stream movies or review movies.
We can never review movies with that particular context.
Oh, true. I do, as I'm munching on my chocolate. I do think now, though, that I'm going to add to our list of premises that we should do a movie review spoof of some sort.
Oh yeah, what kind? What do you think? What are you thinking about that?
Well, I don't know if I would want to go to it as fast as I liked the idea of doing a React spoof. So if we're gonna come up with if we're gonna go off of a premise right now, I'd rather do that one.
The React spoof, where we react to someone's reaction.
Well, I'm not sure if we are reacting to someone's reaction. I purely want to do a tongue-in-cheek, like, I want the joke to be that we're using a clickbaity title.
Well, I mean, we don't really have a choice. Clickbait is the way.
I mean, I haven't been trying too hard to be clickbaity, but I want to be clickbaity with this one. And so
Well, that's the joke.
And so I would want I would want the title to be something, us reacting to something that is very search engine optimized, like something that's very trendy, like constantly, like Minecraft or something like that.
Is Minecraft still search engine friendly?
I believe so, yeah.
I have no idea. How would we figure out what is?
Let me do a top trending Google.
There's some metric somewhere that I'm not privy to.
Well, I mean, there's literally trends.google.com. Oh, but that's like looking up specific things. Let me do a little bit of research because I'm curious about this.
Borat 2.
Borat 2? We react to Borat 2?
No, now I'm looking at movie searches for Google's year in 2020.
I don't have that on. Is that for Canada?
Yeah, just trending what in Canada.
Okay.
Is there a world option?
On Google Trends, yeah, you change the blue thing.
Global. Oh, Among Us.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's a good point. Minecraft isn't on there for 2020.
Yeah, we're not gonna go do Among Us until it's old and nobody likes it anymore. We'll revive it.
Good point. I mean, should we do?
Hey! There's the wet ass Pacific.
Right
Number one in lyrics. That'll be a clickbaity one. We'll have to call it the WAP.
WAP. Do you remember when everybody was reacting? Back in the day, the original reactions was, I think, 2 girls, 1 cup.
That was, in fact, a shock video, although there were plenty of reactions to that shock video.
Well, that's the thing. Had anybody, but that was, I think, the first time I remember seeing people online, because that was around 2005. I feel like that was around the time that you started seeing reaction videos. Was Two Girls One Cup? Was there a shock video before that that had such a trending reaction?
I don't think there was one that became quite so widely known. That one was particularly famous, and it was, and still is to this day, a particularly egregious example of a shock video.
Oh, here's the thing. So is our reaction that we're actually having like a like an allergic reaction? So the title is Tucker and Todd react to blank, but blank is an illness that we are having an allergic reaction to.
I mean, some of the stuff people react to make me sick, that's for sure. I'm having a reaction.
Tucker and
But
Todd
but
react
but
to
are
the
we going to get
coronavirus.
are we going to develop an actual immune response to something that we see on the internet?
Tucker and Todd react to identity politics.
Wow. My reaction to identity politics is to run the other way.
Well, yeah, because you start breaking out in hives.
Oh, I somehow managed to bite my tongue as to what else I might be breaking out into.
Into song?
Yeah, that's where I was going. Me and my melodic voice.
I just wanna sing.
I don't like it. But what I do think, rather than react to something directly, which I think we agreed was just about the lowest tier of content production that was possible, I want to react to somebody's reaction. I want to react to the best reactions we can find. That way
So
it's meta reaction.
So are we reacting to videos of people having allergic reactions or some sort of like skin?
No, no. I think we can be the exclusive owners of allergic reactions out of the reactions. I think we're just gonna make fun of other people reacting to actually created content and pretending that it's content.
So do you mean we're actually finding reactions? I don't know if I want to do that. I want it to be completely made up.
Well, we can very easily make up some of those low energy reactions. We can just like record them with a couple of stoner voices or something. It can all be
Are we-
purely fictional. Like we can make a terrible reaction to something and then we can react to that in character.
So if we are reacting, because I kind of forgot about that is actually so many of them end up being, because the thing is I for years have watched many reaction channels and subscribed to them. I enjoy having my ambient friends that I can drop in and out of and never actually have a conversation with. But I forgot about no charisma, low energy reactions. So are we reacting with low energy to low energy reactions?
I thought we were going to be having allergic reactions to their low energy reactions.
Oh, is that okay? So we are watching low energy reactions and then having. How do we respond to high energy reactions? Do we see any of those at all?
I don't know. I maybe we can see one or two. See, what I'm thinking is that we actually have almost like a montage, but it's not a montage. It's a series of very short uh, scenes of us. Like we watch a reaction, or at least a snippet of a reaction, and then we show our reaction. And we, the idea here I'm having is that we start to get itchier as they progress. Like we start to develop visible hives as we continue to watch these reactions. So we're actually having an immune response to them. And eventually one of us is going to have to pass out. But I'm thinking that that can happen at the high energy moment when we actually see one that, like somebody who probably should be doing more than just reaction videos.
Well, so as you were saying that, you were because I like that. I like this idea that is getting progressively worse. Is it getting cartoonishly worse? Like first we have hives, then we have these like, crazy sores, and we look all flu sick, and then we're like in traction, and then we're dead with X's for eyes.
Yeah, yeah, I think there should definitely be at least one cutaway scene where we're bleeding from the eyes, ears, nose, and mouth.
There's like
And then
flies flying around.
the immediate follow-up scene should be us with like our mouths hanging open with flies buzzing around in and out of them with X's for eyes.
And then the dead horse comes in and starts beating us and says, "It's not funny, is it?"
Oh, that just made that even funnier.
Is that actually funny? Is that right now that's funny to me funny?
Uh, I don't know, but I like it.
Or does something poignant happen? Oh, so
If
that zooms out and somebody's reacting to that.
somebody's reacting to our reaction.
Yeah, they saw us dead.
If somebody's reacting to our reaction, it should probably be the dead horse reacting.
Or actually, maybe the dead horse is one of the reaction channels that we react to. Because I can't think of a joke for why the dead, or maybe I can.
Now that I think about it, the dead horse would definitely have some really low energy, so that could probably be one of the first things that we look at, or one of the last things. Depending on whether low levels of energy actually makes it more severe of an allergic reaction for
Okay,
us.
I like the idea that the dead horse reacts to something that we've made a joke about too much on Tucker and Todd.
That would be Columbo.
So the dead horse reacts to Columbo doing Mentos and Coke or something like that.
I'm not sure. Every one of our Columbo jokes is kind of different.
Or is it you saying, now that seems highly unlikely? And the dead horse has a
Ooh,
lukewarm reaction.
I would be okay with tearing up that one, although we have still only done it twice.
We've only done it twice, but we've only done it twice in 2 sketches. So if you look at our sketch category, 2 sketches in a row have that line in it, as opposed to
If you look at our sketch category, technically 100% of our sketches
yeah,
have that
exactly.
joke, and that's not going to change.
So I kind of like the idea that the
Well, so what? I would say like that seems highly unlike, and I can't even finish it because somebody cuts me off and just like stomps all over the joke.
know that we're going to be watching several reactions. You think that the joke is, oh, Tucker and Todd are watching a dead horse reacting to Tucker and Todd. So that seems like it's the full joke. And then we move on to more scenes of that as because our first reaction to that is go, man, are you feeling kind of itchy?
Yeah, now that you mention it, I am really itchy.
Put on the next one. What's the next one in the queue?
Did you want an actual answer?
No, now we get to think about it.
Yeah. Let's move on to the next one. I'm sick of this one. This isn't going anywhere. And then next pass, and then we just get worse.
The next one is Cowbell reacting to. Actually, no, Cowbell has too much energy to give a low energy reaction. It's the comedian from the last one reacting to his own set.
Ooh, that'd be brutal. That comedian from the steakhouse.
Yeah, I'm trying to reuse characters.
Well, yeah, and the terrible comedian is a great character that we can use forever.
And comedians are known to review their own material, and so he's watching a YouTube of himself, and then he's doing a YouTube reaction of himself reacting to his own comedy.
I really like having him around because it means no matter what, there's still somebody on the show less funny than us.
And so, how does he react? It's just lukewarm. Whatever, that can be scripted later. Because I was thinking maybe he commits suicide, but that's too much.
That is too much, but he can be like, I think his reaction
Or
should be
almost
identical to his performance.
is that funny though to have him comedian reacts to his own comedy and he's sitting there watching his own comedy and it cuts to the set and then it cuts back to just some feet swinging above a chair.
I think that might be a little too dark. I mean, I would be amused, but at the same time, I'd be kind of sad.
Yeah, okay, yeah, because he can't die yet. That's that, yeah.
But I think it would be all right if his response to his own performance was exactly the same level of energy as his performance, just like entirely lukewarm. It's just like innocuous.
Oh, maybe because he does the sort of the Rodney Dangerfield yeah before everything, and so maybe he watches his performance and his response is yeah.
Pretty much. It's just the same.
It's just the same thing over and over again.
It's pretty much the exact same thing he even said on screen. It's almost it's like a fucking feedback loop.
that's yeah, that's how the sample starts. Anything that he has to say, he has to get through that preamble. Okay, and so we watch that and we cut away from that, and now we have progressively worse symptoms.
Oh yeah, watching that guy. Technically, we're watching him twice at once, which is very severe. So we've got like closing up throats and like we've got swollen faces and like just tears streaming out of our eyes and just it's horrible.
Eyes all puckered up.
Yeah, everything is swollen.
Well, yeah, I'm thinking of how many
How many? What? I lost you.
symptoms. First is itching. Second is swollen.
Oh yeah, here's something else to consider. Are the symptoms from the previous instance still there? So we have like them all stacking, or do they actually totally replace each other as they go on?
In my mind, they stack as much as they can be visually represented. So if we were itchy and we're scratching some spots in the first one, then in the second one we would then be swollen up and itching and scratching those same spots. And then so maybe there would be 4. So the third one would be traction. So we're in all sorts of casts and slings, and we're swollen and we're itching and scratching. And then in the last one, we're dead and there's flies eating our wounds.
All right. As much as they can be visually represented, they stack.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I guess the other way to represent that would be, I feel like it would all have to stay in frame because I'm thinking about like cutting away. Yeah, because we're cutting away each time. Each time we're watching one, we're watching a different one, and then we're cutting to us. So it's not like it all happens quickly and rapidly in succession.
Yeah, yeah. It's not necessarily clear just how much time is passing as we watch these things. So it cuts away and then it cuts back and we're just worse.
Hmm. But I think so far we have developed 2 solid kind of like jokes that don't exactly happen immediately in the first 2 reactions. So there was the dead horse, and then there was the comedian. The third reaction could be the third one could be Fox making Joshua. He's been kidnapped and he's being what's it called in
What's it called in what?
Clockwork Orange? What's it called when they tape his eyes open? I'm imagining they're making Joshua react to his interview with us.
Oh wow. I don't remember what they call it. It definitely would have been some kind of like re-education.
It's called like Euphoria or something like that. They had a name for it.
Very spooky.
So Fox in our sketch kidnapped Joshua, and now they've got him all bound and taped up, and they're making him react to it. The YouTube is titled like whistleblower reacts to sabotage or something like that. And they're making Joshua react to his interview with us.
All the while they give him drugs or something. They've got him hooked up to IVs and they've got his eyelids stapled open and shit.
And he's just like, it wasn't me.
Finish your cookies, man.
Oh, sorry, this is bacon.
Where did you get bacon?
When we were restarting our computers, I ran upstairs and I grabbed some bacon.
You're just way too snackish.
Yeah, I like to snack. Loud and long and clear.
Yeah, evidently so. Alright, so are we then wait, are we reacting to Joshua reacting to his own interview then?
Yeah, because I think they're trying to get him to admit that it was him or something like that, maybe. They're torturing him for some reason because they're Fox.
Well yeah, they have people everywhere.
Is that somehow a comment that's made when we see the reaction?
Oh, if it
We're like,
is,
oh, wow, they really did have people everywhere.
if it is, then we have to do it in a totally deadpan, like monotone. Where just while we're watching, we just both say, "Oh, they have people everywhere." Not a whole, not very emotive. Just like say it and then immediately move on, sweep it under the rug.
Okay. And then the final scene, the final reaction.
Is that the one of the dead horse, or did we?
I think the dead horse was the very first one. Or maybe, yeah. So the third one is Joshua reacting to his interview with us, in which you do say, well, that seemed highly unlikely. And then the last one will be the dead horse watching Tip Your Waitress, in which you say that seemed highly unlikely.
And then yeah, that's a dead horse. Okay, but then what do we fit in earlier if we're gonna bump the dead horse to the last in line?
I think the first one will be somebody maybe reacting to a new cowbell song, either a new cowbell song or my new Todd and the Tucker song because I actually have a new hardcore song that I was working on recording, and that could be a cowbell song.
Either that or Stan's been doing like some slam poetry.
Ooh, interesting. Is Craig watching Stan do poetry?
I would love a scene in which we get to have Craig do the reaction to it. He's
Or is it the other way
spicy.
around?
Oh, do you
Stan is watching
do
Craig
you
do
think
poetry.
Craig would actually have this sort of like expressive need to do poetry?
He's like, "Excuse me, ladies and gentlemen, I'm trying out my new AI poetry program."
Yeah, a new bit of software.
And so is it slam poetry or is it like beep everybody's wearing turtlenecks and sunglasses?
Oh, how do they clap for a good show then?
Oh, they snap, of course.
I think Stan should be in the audience though, and he should be the reaction that we react to.
Okay, so is Columbo watching s- s- interesting. I'm trying to figure out the relationship between Stan and Craig because, like, they're roommates, or are they actually also friends? He's a supportive friend, even though he hates him. He goes out
Well,
and he watches
if
his
you
poetry.
recall, Craig had Stan held hostage for a while.
That's true.
So at the best, they would be frenemies.
Oh, are they both at the same event and they're going up and Stan's next? Stan's watching backstage as Craig does his drop-in set.
Oh, that's interesting. So they're
What's it
competing.
called? Open mic. Yeah,
Yeah, it's an
maybe
open
I'm
mic.
not sure if they're competing, but it's an open mic.
It's close enough to a competition that it counts.
Did Craig steal Stan's poem? Is that why it's competitive?
That's not competitive. That's sabotage, and that's reason for Stan to go to war.
Well, Stan has
That,
to.
if anything, but remember, we're not the thing that they're doing has to be boring. So if we make this too interesting, it's going to become its own sketch.
That's true, but I think this is really interesting.
So do I, which means maybe we should bump it into the premise ideas instead.
That's true.
And here, I'll just go write that up. In the meantime, continue to expand or consider what we can put in place so that there's a reaction for us to react.
I just want to add to this so that I don't have to type it into the discussions. We can find it in the recording later. I like the idea that Stan has to use, like, Craig is Stan's computer when he needs to do computer stuff. So Stan typed his poem into Craig, and then Craig went on first and used Stan's poem in the open.
One more time, I couldn't hear you over the sound of my incredibly noisy mechanical keyboard.
Oh, you have a steampunk keyboard.
It's so satisfying. It's clickety clackety, and I think my neighbors can hear it.
I've started watching YouTube review. I found a channel of a guy that reviews mechanical keyboards, and it's sort of like a an OCD satisfying help me fall asleep thing.
Yes, there is something deeply satisfying about the clickety clack sound. But I need to know what your thoughts were on that poem and how he's using Craig as his personal computer.
Oh yeah, so I was saying that Stan uses Craig as his computer, so he's typed his poem into Craig, and then they go to the open mic, but Craig goes up first, and since he has the poem inside him, he just recites Stan's poem, and then he gets all the girls, and Stan is enraged. The the slam poetry, the poetry thing, open mic is now a premise for a sketch. Are we still using this as a quick in and out reaction, or are we proposing something else?
If we want to see, we can go the other way and have the slam poetry thing actually be the very last part, and then it actually just immediately leaves the previous scene behind and then proceeds into the slam poetry sketch.
Oh, I like that because I wasn't super sure. Because I was going to say that it ends with somebody reacting. I mean, it could still end with somebody reacting and then cut away to that scene.
Because it can be like this. We can first react to the comedian reacting to his own set. Then we can react to Joshua being tortured by Fox by being forced to watch his own interview. And then that's that shit. Yeah. That gets I think it gets me to say that seems highly unlikely, and then what is that? Is that actually the dead horse reacting to our reaction of Joshua's reaction.
Oh, are you saying rather than having several in a row, we're doing Inception? We're coming out layer by layer?
Well, no. The idea was still with the original premise of watching scene by scene and getting progressively more sick from them. But I forgot how we connect the dead horse to it because I make a dead horse joke, and then what's the dead horse is reacting to me.
Right. So the first one was the comedian reacting to himself, but he's reacting. Oh, interesting. Sorry. At the end, I had a dead horse reacts to who was reacting. Oh, it's Joshua reacting to that sketch, and then it's
And I just remembered that the dead horse is actually reacting to that line I told in a different sketch rather than reacting to me saying it live as I react to a reaction.
right. That was the order. So Joshua is reacting to his sketch in which you say that seems highly unlikely, and then in the next one sequentially, a dead horse is reacting to a scene. He's reacting to the tip your cow sketch. A dead horse reacts to a comedy sketch, and that's the one in which at the end you say that seems highly unlikely, because that's in this sketch that we're talking about right now. We've used you making the same joke twice, so that is our dead horse.
Yeah. For a minute, I just got confused and thought that
Oh, wait,
that
wait, wait,
I
wait,
said
wait.
that seems highly unlikely to Joshua, and then the dead horse was actually reacting to me reacting to Joshua.
I think we might actually have a better version of it now, though. So the first one is Joshua reacting to a thing in which you say that seems highly unlikely. The next one is somebody else reacting to the cow sketch in which you say that seems highly unlikely. And then the third one is you reacting because we're watching that video. We are having allergies. So we now have allergies. Okay, here we go. This is the third one in which we have allergies, and you are reacting to that and saying that seems highly unlikely. And then that zooms out to a cow, a dead horse reacting to us reacting to that other sketch. And you have said that seems highly unlikely, and the dead horse is now reacting to that.
Okay, so yeah, I like that. So the dead horse is reacting to us reacting to a reaction.
Yeah, dead
We've
horse is
gone we've
reacting
gone
to
we've taken it back an entire new layer.
yes, and
And
managed
of
to
course the
fit the
comedian
joke
is
in
still in there
the
somewhere.
the the comedian is there somewhere? Interesting.
Well, no, the comedian still has to be like the very first of the reaction videos.
Oh, yes, the
Like
comedian is the
comedian
first
goes
one.
first, and then there's Joshua, and then there's Tip Your Waitress, and then there's me saying that seems highly unlikely after that's already been made twice, that joke. And then the dead horse reacts to my reaction, and then
Is
is
the
that the point
comedian
where we
beating the
have
dead horse?
X's for eyes? Yeah, why not? Is that the point where we have X's for eyes? And is that the point where we move on to the next video to react to? But it's the open mic with Craig and Stan.
Okay, so do we have X's for eyes?
After the dead horse reacts to us? Maybe.
I think so. Yeah, it zooms out and it says Tucker and Todd react to a dead horse reacting to Tucker and Todd reacting to etc.
I like the reactception. And then I guess it's going to zoom right back into whatever monitor or TV screen that we're watching, and then it starts playing the open mic scene.
Yeah, maybe we see whatever video we were reacting to as we're dead. You see the little end screen, the end cards. Watch, click for this playlist, click for this video. Here's the channel button that comes up, that pops up over the end of the video, and it, or maybe it's doing like the next video will start in 10 seconds.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, the autoplay.
Yeah, it's doing the autoplay countdown, and then it cuts to the video of Stan and Craig. Are you experiencing more problems?
This thing, man.
It might not be our night. It's working again now. We'll see how long.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't care for whatever Discord's doing now.
Should we switch over to Google Sessions or whatever it's called?
If it keeps doing this, this'll be, yeah. We'll have to consider enslaving ourselves to our Google overlords.
Maybe. Or I mean, we're an hour in. We could have a short episode or a 2-part episode. Ooh, interesting.
But is that as interesting as continuing with Craig and Stan's slam poetry scene?
Shall we move on to that?
I think we shall.
Okay. So, is it a competition? Is there at least a prize for the who gets the
I
most
don't
applause?
know if there's a prize, but there might be a participation trophy, and even if it's not a competition, it's a competition between these two because they're in conflict.
Is it about getting the girls?
No, but Stan won't be happy that Craig does.
Is there something character defining about the girls that it does win him? Is it about does it all take place at this wherever this open mic is?
Yeah, all of it, the whole scene.
And so is this scene more about the poetry itself? Are we going to write some very silly poems about something that's going on? Is it telling the story of the conflict between Craig and Stan? And they don't know how to actually communicate it to each other, so they're using their poetry to passively aggressively argue about some domestic dispute that they have.
Well, they might be, but the thing is Craig has stolen Stan's poem and he's using it as his own, so Stan has no material, and Craig didn't make any of his own material, so I don't know if it's going to qualify as them passing notes to each other.
Oh, interesting. So is it a whole scene where Craig has gone up and said this poem. Now he's like sitting with his arms around 2 girls and they're all into him. And Stan goes up and he's sort of choking because he doesn't have any material. And Craig's sort of like jeering at him, like, "Oh man, look at this loser. Doesn't even have a poem prepared."
What a fucking asshole.
Jerk. And then so
Uh,
Stan actually like erupts and goes on a tirade where he condemns Craig for all of his faults and shortcomings, and everybody's blown away. They think it's his poem. They all start snapping. They think it's the most amazing poetry they've ever heard.
okay, so his tirade starts, and of course it starts a little rocky, but as it gains momentum, does he start speaking in rhyme?
Yeah, I think so.
Like, imagine if he started delivering his entire rant in iambic pentameter.
I'm really liking that. It's like a John Donne sonnet.
So once it picks up steam, then it becomes material, and that means we would then actually have to write not one, but 2 poems.
Well, I'm thinking that the first one is very like free form and we're sort of mocking freeform poetry, and it's very, yeah, man, zip zooza.
Fuck those people. I mean, thank you for listening. Yes, I want to make fun of freeform poetry.
My heart, it was flood. It's basically a William Shatner impression. The whole poem is a William Shatner impression.
I would love to make fun of William Shatner too.
William Shatner's there snapping.
If a character that is vaguely reminiscent of William Shatner is featured, he will simply be known as the Shat.
I like the idea that Shatner is in some sort of band called I Shat Myself.
That's crude, but funny.
So Craig goes up and reads his stand. Oh man, you went in and out.
Yes, that time by my own doing. Okay,
Oops.
let's wrap up this scene.
Yeah.
So
So the first
so
time Craig reads Stan thing freeform, and then Stan goes up and reads it. He improvs a tirade on the spot, which ends up being iambic pentameter, which is no problem.
yeah, now are we gonna make it rhyme?
Yeah, rhyming is the easiest thing in the world.
Okay, I agree that the iambic pentameter will be more complex than making it rhyme.
It all sorts of falls into place.
All right, so what happens at the conclusion of Stan's rant, or does he even get to actually finish it?
I think he does because I was seeing I think he gets to finish it, and then there's a couple beats of silence, and then everybody is blown away by it. But does Craig get a comeuppance? Does he get some? Does he actually win over the girls with that? They're now interested in him. Craig sat there with his mouth agape, or does he get some sort of like record deal or something?
Well, I assume that the girls that Craig currently has his little robot arms around abandon him and then flock to Stan.
I think yeah, like that makes sense that should be the point. But then
But then something should happen that makes the girls look at Stan and go, "Ugh," and then leave.
maybe he and Craig should have some sort of conversation where they make amends, and then when the girls overhear them both kind of like revealing how sleazy and shitty they both are, then they're no longer interested in either of them.
Oh, does Stan invite Craig back to the studio to do horrible things to both of these girls, or what? That seems like a Columbo thing to do.
That does. I'm thinking, well, because they somehow reveal Craig reveals that he stole Stan's poem, and so the girls don't like him because of that. But Stan reveals that he's like, "Oh, that's okay. I only wrote it because I wanted to bring these broads back and smash."
Yeah, that's probably the simplest way to put it.
And then the girls are both sitting there watching them. And they've got looks of disgust, and then they leave.
Well, yeah, they're overhearing it. He's not exactly saying it for them to hear.
No, of course not. He didn't know that they were overhearing it.
All right, so they hear it and then they leave in disgust, and then it's just Craig and Stan in there. Everybody else is filed out as well.
Oh, does everybody hear it? Is it one of those they accidentally leaned on the PA system or something like that?
I love those. I think that's exactly what should happen, and it should definitely be Craig's fault because he's like a wireless device and he just taps into it.
Oh, Craig, what's his name? Stan is like aggressively poking Craig. He's pointing at him, and pokes down his finger like aggressively, and it hits a button on Craig, which turns him into a loudspeaker.
It connects him to the PA system. They don't know it though,
Okay.
or at least they don't immediately know it. Like, because if Craig himself just becomes a loudspeaker, all they have to do is stop talking immediately. But they need to complete an entire small conversation.
I'm trying to think now. Is it the scene where he backs up and accidentally like stands on the actual PA mic? Boop, way hit the button. Or does he link into the system somehow?
Yeah, I like that Stan is hitting his buttons and one of them turns on like his Bluetooth
Oh, okay,
connection or
that's
something,
easy.
and he
Perfect. Yeah.
connects to the PA.
It doesn't need to make perfect sense. Because then we can just do a little Bluetooth signal logo symbol thing. Your imagination does the rest of the work.
It makes perfect sense.
And so they have their little conversation. Look, all I was trying to do was get my dick wet.
Yikes, that's just ugly.
I feel like it does need to be sort of vulgar and unfeeling.
Yeah, it should be because in this instance they're both basically being painted as the villain and everybody else leaves in disgust.
Well, because he's got his little logo. Has his logo changed at all? Is it still the trash can? And he's like, I want to get some stank on this stank. He points to his belly.
Yikes. He really is a gross little creep.
I want to roll around in the trash, if you know what I'm saying.
What a bad little bear.
Balls deep in the trash can.
Now you're just making him awful.
I don't know how awful he is. I feel like I drew him to be awful.
He is awful. Like, he smokes too much, he drinks too much, he's just a generally unpleasant little creature.
Okay, and so everybody's disgusted. Everybody files out. Does it just end on them kind of like they have a line for each other and then it's done, or do we
Yeah,
have a
pretty
sequence
much.
from there?
I'm not sure what else to do with that besides like to walk them out of the building and send them home to the studio.
Oh, does it have kind of a they disappear into the shadows over the horizon, making like rhyming jabs at each other to stay on theme?
Oh, you mean they kind of continue off into the sunset while doing their little rhymes.
Yeah, the sound kind of like the volume fades out as they disappear into the sunset, being poetic but hating each other.
Yes. They basically leave as they came in
You know what, pal?
with dumb poems.
You're a real expensive spirit and a waste of shame.
What does that even mean?
Well, it's a reference to a Shakespeare sonnet, but the sonnet is referring to the feeling you get after you ejaculate.
Shakespeare's a creep.
He was pretty much a creep, yeah. Theater.
Yeah, and then Shakespeare's their creepy ringleader.
I like this idea. Shakespeare and his theater dorks as Jesus and the apostles.
Interesting. Are we gonna
Yeah,
make
I'm
fun
gonna
of
add that.
religion?
I'm not
Yes,
gonna do
we
that now.
are.
I'm adding that to the premises, though. Shall we do one more little bitty thing off of the list?
Yes, let's try.
Oh, I mean, should we try to do this identity thing, or should we try to do that when we have a lot of energy at the beginning of another episode?
Identity thing.
Yeah, I identify as a good comedian.
Oh, that one probably requires good energy at the start of the sketch, yeah.
We could do Fargo Shock Jocks. Do you want to work on that one a little bit?
Yes, let's talk about our Fargo guys. I love them.
I like I like that Fargo is just an entire. It is an entire identity for the people in our universe.
It's an entire class of people.
It is yeah, it is a classification. So I said Fargo Shock Jocks, who are trying to be shocking, but they're overly sheepish about fairly mild jabs, and they say things like "frickin" and "heck." You said. So are they
Oh yeah, they gotta say heck, you know.
Are they Joe and Ted?
Yes, they need to be really mousy and kinda bashful about it.
And so they have their old-fashioned soundboard. The one bit that I said was, "Yeah, that's right, Ted. I was down there at the Hooters, and let me tell you, I wasn't exactly being a gentleman, if you'll follow me." And then they have their awooga soundboard. Awooga, squeaka.
I wanna know exactly what he did that was ungentlemanly so I can know exactly how benign it was.
Okay, so I'm not sure if we see the. Do
He
we see this?
smiled at his waitress.
Or maybe his wife has some sort of rule of a thing that he's not allowed to do. Did he make eye contact? I don't know.
He smiled at a waitress.
I'm not sure. Is a situation? Is it actually Hooters? I'm not sure. Is he saying that, or is he referring to a place that he calls the Gentleman's Club, but then it is just a Hooters or something like that? He says
Or
it.
maybe it's not even a Hooters and it's actually just a Denny's with one pretty waitress.
Oh, so he's like maybe he's bragging at first that I was down there at the Gentleman's Club, and they're all ho, 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 ho. And he quickly like backtracks. He's like, well, it's not actually the Gentleman's Club. But I call it the Gentleman's Club because of that. They're, not naming any names or anything. That young Bessie they got down there, it's cowbell.
Okay, so we've got our very nice and polite young men who visited the Gentleman's Club, or at least one of them did, and he was less than a gentleman because he left a particularly big tip by 3%.
Oh, is that what
That
it is? He's saying I was at the Gentleman's Club, and he's like, well, it's not actually the Gentleman's Club, but I call it the Gentleman's Club. And actually, if I could be perfectly honest, I'd like to think that I was quite the gentleman, because the point is, if I could be so bold as to say that I would left a tip of more than how much?
3% higher than the average rate. So I guess he tipped 18%.
Is it about the tip? Did he do something wholesome and he's trying to brag that it wasn't?
Yeah, he left a nice tip for the waitress, and he's pretending that he was, tipping an entertainer. He slipped her a couple of extra bills.
Oh, is he saying that he slipped her a couple of extra bills, and then Joe or Ted or whoever the opposite one is, the other is kind of giggling, going like, "Oh, what did she do to earn that?" And he's like, "Well, she brought me my
She
milk.
filled his cup of coffee twice.
Yeah, she brought me 2 refills, and I didn't even have to ask."
Yeah, I think that's going to be basically how that sketch proceeds. Is that they kind of build up with like suggestive talk, and then they immediately have a terrible letdown by explaining exactly what happened.
And is it each time that one wants more details, asking, "Is it this? Is it that?" And then they have to relent? Or are they backtracking and correcting themselves because of their own remorse?
I think they're trying to deliver a shocking, titillating, rude, or otherwise entertaining story, and then one of their co-hosts just asks a couple of questions that result in the systematic dismantling of the entire premise.
Okay. So the first one is the Gentleman's Club. Maybe maybe are these going to have to, as we establish the joke, maybe they get more severe each time? Is one of them like I had to go see the quote unquote doctor? I had to go see my quote unquote doctor,
What's a doctor in quotes?
a drug dealer. But if that wasn't obvious enough off the bat.
That's what I assumed it was. But do these guys really have drug dealers?
Well, no, they don't. But maybe that one would be implying that he was like, "Oh, you did you? You were about to go get all looking for a night out in the town or whatever." He's like, "No, I had the sniffles or whatever.
Lower back pain.
Yeah, my sciatica was acting up."
Yeah, lower back pain. That's what it always is. And you know what? Maybe it was medical marijuana. But instead of like getting high, he just like had half of it and fell asleep in a big chair.
The big comfy armchair.
Yeah, you know he's got one.
What's something else unsavory? Oh, is the third one? Do we end on a subversion or do they stay? Are these going to be recurring characters? I think
I
they
think
probably
we
will
should
end up in
end on a
scenes.
subversion where he starts with something that sounds benign and then upon further questioning it actually becomes shocking. But what could that be? Something that starts benign rather than starts shocking. And then progressively it becomes shocking. Unlike everything else, it becomes
So does
totally
he describe
innocuous.
something that starts benign and becomes shocking, or does it just,
The starting point has to be innocuous.
like maybe the wife and I went to marriage counseling?
They actually went to a fucking swinger party. I don't know. I think a swingers party seems like a pretty shocking thing for a mousy married couple to do.
I think it would be. I'm just trying to think of how it develops, how the conversation develops.
Well, obviously, first, the co-host asks what therapist they went to, what counselor. And then, of course, he says, "Oh, it was, I don't know, insert somebody's name. Maybe it was Ed. Ed and his wife. Ed and his wife. They're both counselors. Yeah, they do visits in their house.
Yeah, they do house calls.
Yeah, we went over to Ed's house for counseling, and then it progresses from there where he says that there were actually other couples there getting counseled too. Possibly makes a reference to another couple that
Oh,
everybody on
group
the show
therapy.
actually knows. Yeah, group therapy over at Ed's house. But it was group therapy for couples, and partway through, everybody swaps spouses for counseling.
Yeah, now about halfway through, everybody swaps. Like testimony? No, spouses.
Are we talking about counseling still?
Well, I call it
I
counseling.
counseled her plenty.
Counselor, I hardly know her.
The boys have to make that joke for sure. Well, I knew her afterwards.
Actually, maybe that's first. Yeah. Actually, to be perfectly honest, this week I saw my wedding counselor, and the a co-host makes the like kind of nudge, nudge, wink, wink. Counselor, I hardly know her.
He's fucking
Well, I'm getting to that. Just wait 1 second. Ted, Jesus Christ, you're always jumping on my
okay.
throat.
Now this became super interesting because for once these super nice button down boys actually did, at least one of them did something wild.
Are we slowly revealing that they were actually lying before, and they were all going all hookers and blow, and that's their whole thing?
No. I think that every now and then we just need to slip in like an actually crazy, shocking thing that these repressed, mousy people do. And I think a swinger party is perfect.
And is it real?
What?
So he describes his swinger party, and his partner is getting like increasingly more confused and concerned, and he's going like, "What?" And he said, "I said it was minus 72 degrees or whatever," and that's not a real temperature anywhere.
Yeah, it should definitely, and I don't know if it should even actually be confirmed that it was a swinger party, like explicitly, but I think we should just like continue to implicitly hammer it in until the co-host just gets bored of questioning because he's kind of figured it out that this guy went to a swinger party. So that's why Ed's wife was walking funny.
It cuts to Ed's wife, and she's got one leg shorter than the other.
Why are we doing that?
Or she's literally a silly walker. Never mind. She's literally a silly walker.
Okay, so on the day following a swinger party, she actually just develops the silly walk, but it's not a limp like you would have if you just happen to have a sore orifice. In fact, it is a silly walk, a genuine silly walk.
Yeah, it's that one where you turn your toes out, it's heels together, and then you just rapidly hop everywhere in your heels.
I don't know. I kind of liked actually, I think I liked every single walk that showed up in the Ministry of Silly Walk.
The very long shoes. She's got very long shoes, and she walks at 90-degree angles.
But only on the day after the swinger party. If she walks silly all the time, there's no joke.
And does it zoom out? And somebody's like,
well, that seems highly unlikely.
Well, that's an odd reaction.
One of these days, you're going to have to smack me over the back of the head for that, kind of like specifically.
Todd is going to have to smack Tucker?
Yeah, I mean, he's tall enough to do it. He's in good position. The words start coming out of Tucker's mouth, and Todd just like whacks him over the back of the head with something. I don't know, like a menu, rolled up newspaper, palm of his hand. Doesn't matter.
I stuff my beard in your mouth, and I've just got the pokey face.
That sounds totally horrifying, and I don't think I ever want to have to think about that.
Okay, how do we wrap up this? I mean, I feel like almost do these jocks need more to their bit?
Well, they can have a series of like those things that start shocking sounding but become increasingly benign as they're explained. The wrapping up is like coming to mostly conclusive proof that one of these hosts actually did participate in a goddamn orgy.
Well, now I'm sort of second guessing the entire thing, and I'm wondering if, well, maybe not if, definitely they should be actually recurring characters, and we should have multiple sketches in which we parody sort of recurring tropes of shock jocks. So maybe this is this one sketch, and then another one is them doing like a call-in contest, and another one is them doing a prank. I don't know.
Well, yeah, for sure. And I wouldn't mind that like once per episode, despite most things turning out to be innocuous and dull, at least one thing turning out to be legitimately shocking. But like I always want it to be a subversion of the previous setup.
Yeah, I think that is these guys. Each time they show up, they're going to start doing a radio bit, but it's a wholesome version of a traditionally shock jock bit. Everything has had the edges sanded off, and it's all sterilized and softened, whatever the word for that is.
I like sterilized.
I always forget the word. What is the word that they use for when you make things like baby proof though? When you like not neuter, but basically neuter.
I thought it was sterilized, but maybe it's not.
Yeah, sterilized works for what we're saying. They sterilize the shock jock bit with their wholesomeness, and then at the end it starts taking a dark path. But then, so is there's a slow subversion, and we reveal that something quite dark is actually going to play, and then right at the end it quickly becomes bright and roses, and we're not quite sure if what we just saw was real.
Not sure what we just saw is real in what way.
We're not sure. Well, yeah, because I'm trying to figure out if we're revealing. So is one of the characters always the dark one?
No, I think it should be kind of mixed around. And I don't even know if 2 is the correct number. Maybe we need a third guy who's a little bit zany just to even them out. Because I'm afraid they might actually be a little bit too soft, even though we eventually make it funny. We still have to get to the funny. But to be
Okay.
fair, their bits technically start shocking and then work their way down into being normal. So if we do that correctly, it can still be funny by not meeting expectation.
Is the third one straight woman? Is that her other job?
I don't think this place is good for her. I don't think it's meant for her.
Is it somebody from our universe that exists already, or are we coming up with a third character who
Haven't
is
decided yet
is
if there should be a third person or if these two boys can have enough of a chemistry on their own. Oh, that's what it is. They'll occasionally have guests. They can just have like a guest. If we need a third person, they can have a guest.
okay, and the guest is like their straight person.
At least once their guest is gonna be Stan, and he's gonna fucking disgust them.
It's gonna be mouths agape. You know, honestly, Joe, I'm not really quite sure what to make of this.
He's gonna actually shock them.
They're just puking.
Yeah. One of them has to like hook himself up to oxygen.
That's very funny. Stan walks out kind of like, uh, what's that? I don't even know what the words to describe the action. Wiping his hands off?
Yeah, you
Miming
you
wiping his
dust your
hand, you know what I
hands
mean?
off.
Yeah, he's dusting his hands off.
Yeah, that's what I like to call the I guess that's that.
Oh, that is the I guess that's that. That's also literally American Sign Language for finished.
Really?
Yeah.
I guess it is. Okay.
Did you look it up?
Yes, I did because I wanted to save a gif of it for later.
Oh, well, yeah. Sign Savvy and all those pages have loads of gifts. So it's becoming darker. God, how do these end? With somebody just staring in horror?
Oh, you mean the one with Stan?
I mean, any of them. Like, how do we are discovering that actually this guy who seems quite wholesome and chipper, one of them is actually quite vile. And then, yeah, I'm
There's
wondering how
there's
does it end?
nothing vile about a swinger party. Those are consenting
Oh,
adults.
okay. You know, yes, you're right.
But what it is,
Vile is the wrong word.
wild and very unexpected of such a button-down mousy man, which is the point. But it'll end when I guess one of the other hosts is gonna have to say, "You were all fucking each other."
Well, so when they're specifically referring to a sex party, then yes, you were. So it's the guy says you were all fucking each other. I don't know. Does this end on kind of like the one of them making kind of a similar statement every time? Because I think we are. Am I wrong in saying that we're proposing several different sketches that all go the same way? We've discussed.
Kind of, but they don't necessarily have to end the same way. And in fact, at least once, I would like their radio show to end because there was a car accident outside that just became more interesting to them than the radio show. So
I'd also
they
like.
just forget that their own show is happening. But in this instance, the other host is just going to basically say, "You were all fucking each other, weren't you?" And then there's like just like a shocked silence as his he tried to keep it concealed, but now his partner's figured it out. And at the end of that shocking silence, he just plays one of the stupid sounds from the soundboard and then roll credits.
Does he say it sort of kind of dryly? He's like kind of bored and unimpressed. Like you were all fucking each other, weren't you?
Oh, well, in that case, it sounds like he's heard this before.
Well, because I'm thinking because they're playing this game where they're making wholesome things sound like they're not wholesome, but then it's subverted at the end where he keeps making something that's not as wholesome sound like it's just a trip to the therapist or whatever it was, right?
Yeah,
He's
if
making
anything, it was health related.
so the co-host is unimpressed and bored. Like, why are you wasting my time leading me down this path? Like, I see what you're trying to do, but you were all fucking each other, weren't you?
Is there any point at which this co-host is shocked though? Like, does he figure it out partway through, and then he gets progressively more bored as the like double entendres continue?
Like he's like flinching.
Like he starts interested, then he becomes like shocked, legitimately shocked, and then comes like the grotesque sort of fascination and interest, the same kind you have when you see a train wreck. You can't look away. So he's just suddenly very interested, but he's also kind of weirded out. And then eventually that too passes as the whole scene continues and this guy continues to say more double entendres describing the scene of their group therapy.
Oh, okay. So maybe it is. So it's cutting back and forth between them as one is telling the story and one is becoming maybe just purely progressively more bored to the point where he's like filing his nails or whatever.
Yeah, like the shock is over, suddenly the morbid interest is over. Now all that's left is getting bored.
And then as the guy trails off, he's like, "Are you done?" And the guy's like, "Yeah, I guess. You were all fucking each other, weren't you?"
He doesn't even have to add the "weren't you" to the end of there. He can just make it a declarative statement. You were all fucking each other.
Oh, and is that when a whole bunch of like confetti and horns and balloons pop out and they're like, "You guessed the magic, I was fucking everyone."
Except that nobody wanted him to say that on radio.
Oh, it starts flashing on the screen like I was sleeping with everyone, and like he's like kind of mad. He's like, "You're supposed to keep it radio friendly."
Whatever the case was, he wanted it to stay suggestive, and then, but instead of it being implicit, this co-host made it explicit, and thus, in turn, shocked his other host.
Okay, yes, I like that. So he's like bored. He's kind of like, I get it. You were fucking everyone. And then the guy is taken aback, like, "Oh my god, your language!"
Yeah, pretty much. And then there's like a beat, and then he plays one of the sounds on the soundboard, another awooga, maybe. And then that's the end.
Or now I'm trying to. No, these always turn into like cartoon scenes in my head. He goes to hit the soundboard, and it makes like jerking off noises, and he's like, "Oh shit,
Or
fuck! I meant to hit."
somebody sticking their fingers in the mayo jar.
Yeah, that sound. And so as that sound is happening, he's like, "Oh shit! Beep! I mean, awooga!" And then he's like fumbling with the soundboards.
Yeah, he's not quite familiar with his instrument panel there yet.
Sorry, this is new.
Whatever the case is, that's where they shut her down.
Oh, do we cut to a technical difficulties hang in there screen?
Well, I was interested in having him just play the awooga or some other sound, maybe a cat call or some kind of whistle, and then roll credits after he's made his co-host shocked with his language. But we can definitely do a technical difficulties.
I kind of like the cut to black. Awooga cut to black credits.
It's well, actually, at this point, it's almost as much of a cliche as the technical difficulties is. That beat of silence followed by a particular noise or some kind of shouted exclamation.
I like the idea of there's kind of like a and the other character goes ow, and the other guy goes oh sorry, and then the awooga black.
Awooga.
Awooga cut to black. Ow. Sorry. Credits.
I'm in. Yes.
Okay.
And that's wrapped up.
That's wrapped up, and that is a 2-hour broadcast, everybody. Not including weird pauses in between, but those show up eventually anyways.
Yeah, those are our technical difficulties, and there's nothing funny about them.
I mean, I'm laughing at them now, so there must be.
Yeah, that's fair. All right. I think I'm all out of energy, and I think my actual real life allergies are gonna start bothering me.
Oh no.
But for now, we're gonna outro.
Yeah. Thank you for everybody for joining us this week. This has been another episode of the Tucker and Todd Show. I'm Todd.
And I'm Tucker.
And I'm tuckered.
I'm also tuckered. That's why they call me. All right, that wasn't as funny as you acted.
Well, I was amused by it because I've heard it more times than anybody else, and you also noted last week that you would say it until it made sense. And being as I had said Tucker, and you responded with "That's why they call me tuckered," I felt like it was the most appropriate so far, and so I, as you noticed, laughed.
Thanks for that very clinical breakdown.
Top 10 breakdowns of all time.
Go.
All right, everybody. That's been a show.
It was. Good night, Craig.
Good night, Craig, and good night, everybody else. Thank you for tuning in.
Awooga.
Awooga.
Fuck Tucker. Tucker sucks. And fuck Tucker's friend, Todd.